Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew Dracy, and today I'm going to be focusing on the Swordsman, who lived a very colorful life over the years with the Avengers, and he was the first Avenger who died in battle and died, period. He was the very first Avenger. Years and years, he popped up and disappeared throughout the Avengers and some other books, I think. So we'll go into this. I can't decide. I think it's a Kirby design, but it's different. It's a little different where the straps here by Don Heck. I don't know if that was like an embellishment or whatever, or if Heck designed him. I don't know. It's hard to say. But you got Stan, you got Don Heck, and you got Dick Ayers, unfortunately, as the inker. This stuff's so muddy. It's a shame. But, you know, they were short on people, and they didn't have good page rates back then. The coming of the Swordsman. No one questions the man with an Avengers ID card. If I can join their team, there's nothing I won't be able to get away with. And those costume do-gooders would be fools to reject anyone as powerful as the Swordsman. Quicksilver shows up with the monitor. He sees halt in the name of the Avengers. Well, it's about time someone showed up. You were ordered to halt. Nobody orders the Swordsman. Nice action there. Really cool stuff. Gets popped. But he does a propeller thing with his sword. Now, this is one of those pages, like, a lot of people give Stan Lee shit, and, you know, I get it. There's you know, he wasn't a perfect person. He hated Silver Surfer #4, and then years later loved it. But when you're the main character, the main editor / writer / publisher, well, not even publisher, but, you know, sometimes you have to tweak things, and it's unfortunate. But in this page right here is specifically what I mean. If you look at, don't read any of the words. Look at these isolated images. That. It's very confusing. So Stan, Kirby even did this once in a while. Kirby in general was like a masterful storyteller, but there were times where there was like a little slip between panels where you'd have to kind of explain specifically why something happened. And I know Lee was verbose, but back then everybody was verbose. So, okay, here we go. Well, one simple gesture will release my hex power, causing the sword to slip through his fingers. And what happened? Suddenly I lost my grip, and then in the heat of the battle, the Scarlet Witch's hex is so powerful that it goes past the swords, but accidentally striking Quicksilver. Something tripped me. I'm stumbling into the auxiliary weapons defense panel. But then as the hex beam effects passes, the Swordsman thinks Quicksilver's about to menace him with electronic devices, so don't touch that panel. Quicksilver touches whatever he pleases. Keep away from me, Quicksilver. I'm no match for his speed. I was just testing you. And going back, like, if this wasn't described as him possibly using... I don't know if Don Heck intended to, like, try to get to Quicksilver, try to throw his sword and get him and maybe dodge too fast, but the situation's been resolved through, you know, a bit of exposition. I was just testing you. He gets up, slaps Quicksilver with the flat of his blade. You'll never be an Avenger. You are lacking in honor. And the last word is woman's prerogative, as you shall see. Don't force me to defend myself against you. And she takes him out. And she's like, shut up, you jerk. I was going to say something else, but I'm trying to be wholesome. Trying to be. Cap shows up. The lights get cut by the Swordsman, who was playing Possum. And, you know, I never saw Possum until I moved to Georgia. And I've only seen him flat until a few years in. I saw one live, and it scared the living piss out of me. Okay, there's so much for my clean image. The Don Heck designed Hawkeye, and any panel where I see Hawkeye drawn by Don Heck is just a treasure. I just love it so much. He hears about the Swordsman. I've more than heard of him. He's the one in all world that I used to fear. Better start at the beginning. So, at a carnival, Swordsman was the main draw, and along came this teenage drifter who was a orphan, learning how to do the bow and arrow. We're having a great team, but never forget which of us is the master. Someday I'll be as good at my bow as you are with your sword. Don't try it. It ain't healthy, kiddo. So some mentor he is. He breaks into the cash box of the circus, and he's like, you know what's going on? You're my partner now. Nobody will ever catch us. But the young Clint Barton says, no, tries to get away. But the swordsman cuts the rope, and, you see the rope broke his fall. I guess it twisted around him or something like that. So you got Hydra. Good old Hydra. I love this thing. It's like, for no reason, it's so funny. Again, it's Stan, clarifying something. He goes, now let me slip my blasted hood off so I can see better. That's it. Don't move. Here goes. So the Hydra costumes, mess up your vision. It seems kind of like I would redesign those suits, like yesterday. So, but when I was a kid, you don't think of that kind of stuff. So, what happens is Captain America wants to join Nick Fury's organization, which I don't even. Yeah, they called it SHIELD right off the bat. So, Cap's all thrilled. And meanwhile, the rest of them are like, this could be the best thing for all of us. Indeed, it could. They want to be leaders anytime that Cap's not around. Well, some great action going on here. That's a great panel there. That is really fun. It's just like... So, Cap gets overtaken by some of the debris that was cut free from the swordsman. And now he is held on a board, almost like a diving board. I love that first panel, close up on the mouth. So, Cap decides, no, they're not gonna be. He's like, I'll make myself jump. I'm not gonna let Swordsman do it. And now we get Wallace Wood. Oh my God, so good. Special note to art lovers: when do you see wonderful Wally Wood's inking of Don's drawings in this great ish? Again, I love that Kirby pose and the gray. See, they all just it stands out so much. If I was a publisher and I did a superhero book, I might make gray backgrounds a regular thing. So they rescue him. Swordsman disappears, and they don't know why, but he shows up at the Mandarin's place. And Mandarin wants to get back at the Avengers for defying them, especially Iron Man. He wants Iron Man to come back so he can defeat him too. But Swordsman, he's like, no, I'm not interested. But he gets humbled. Nice stuff there. Oof. He's like, why should I waste my time fighting him when the Avengers are the real enemy? If I can humble them, as he claims, why should I look a gift horse in the mouth? So Mandarin uses some projector to create a hologram of Iron Man, and he says, let me show you something about Wally Wood that's really cool, and he's the only one to my knowledge who can pull this off. See the bow above Captain America's mouth, the lip? He does that on the smallest images, and it's so distinct. He just has that magic touch. So, hologram, fake Iron Man, says, you didn't give him a chance. Give the Swordsman a chance. So, so he shows up, and he goes, next thing you know, we'll be swearing in Doctor Doom. But Cap's keeping an eye on him, say, hey. Well, Mandarin interrupts Swordsman in the middle of the night while he's in his tidy whities. He goes, set a bomb. How come? What about Iron Man? This will speed his arrival, and when he learns of their fate, he will come to investigate, and then we shall trap him. Again, I love these solid color panels. I can't let them do this. He says, Swordsman can't stoop to assassination, so he's trying to take the bomb away, or the activator, or whatever you call it. And here comes the team. They're like ready to take him down. Really nice stuff by John Heck. But he gets away from his explosion and fog, and Mandarin's like, "Hey, it was a fool to use him as my pawn." But 10 issues later, here comes Swordsman back with Power Man, the original Power Man. And I dig them both. My first Avengers issue ever was a reprint, Marvel Triple Action, that had part 2 of the issue where Power Man shows up and kicks everybody's ass. At the beginning of this story, Goliath came back a few issues ago, or I think like the previous issue. I can look, but I'm not going to flip through every page. He's stuck at 10 feet, and that created like a tragic, ongoing thing that really Marvel was good at. You know, like the superhero with problems, as the college papers would say. And I thought that would have been a good story at the Giant Man series when he was doing, when Giant Man was in Tales to Astonish. And aside from not having a supporting cast, there was nothing that made you feel for Giant Man as a person. He was just there. So. Meanwhile, at another circus, the Black Widow shows up, sounding very much like Bela Lugosi. That's like the callback to every Russian voice faked. Natasha's alive and she's coming here? Oh boy, I knew it. And she comes back. She's like, "Oh, my darling." But he's been set up, baby. More good stuff. I just love that. Anyway, on guard, Avenger. We meet again to fight again. The Swordsman, wasn't one defeat enough for you, mister? That is some smack talk. I love that. Well, some really cool action, but Power Man is super strong. You know what I wonder? This almost looks like a Kirby redraw. There's several, there's panels, random panels where Kirby would redraw a figure at Stan's behest, just to give it more punch, so to speak. So, well, time for Operation Mop-Up. Watch out, there's a door behind him. Don't worry, Shorty. My arrows can follow wherever they go. But there's laser beams. And what's interesting is Hawkeye, he started off like hating on Captain America, saying he was an old man, blah, blah, blah. All right, Egghead, say it. Go ahead, say it. This is one time I got it coming. And Cap doesn't browbeat him or anything. And that's a very interesting character arc. That Hawkeye, over like a year or two, he finally, he not only likes Cap, he's a big supporter of Cap now. The next time we see Swordsman, he's just a pawn. This is Gil Kane cover. Beautiful. Got those gray machines in the background. Some gorgeous Gene Colan art. This is Gil Kane penciling and inking himself. And I mentioned this before, that it's always interesting seeing other artists do their iteration of Kirby tech. So, yeah, Bucky's supposed to be back. You know, there's gonna be trouble. Hey la, hey la. So, Swordsman and his best friend all of a sudden, Power Man, they descend below. Really dramatic stuff. I love it. And that gun is so cool. So they're giving orders. They're saying, but what's your angle? That will be revealed when the time comes. He says, this disembodied voice says, I have brought you here to do what you do best. Do that voodoo that you do to fight a mighty enemy. Not even Captain America can stand up to Invincible Blade of the Swordsman or the Power Man's awesome superhuman strength. Captain America, even if you didn't pay us, we wouldn't turn this job down. We wouldn't have turned this down. You've fought him before. I am well aware of this. That is the reason that you were the ones I chose. So there's not much character development with the Swordsman. They're just sort of going. This is also Gil Kane trying to do Kirby. Like, that's very much like the final punch of that was used in one of the previous issues, and that's very Kirby too. But Gil Kane didn't stay on long, and I don't know if it was him or if it was Stan saying it doesn't look Marvel enough or something. That's another pose that Kirby did. So you get the Swordsman just, he shortened himself out. So, turns out it is you! It turns out to be Red Skull, but I've always liked it. Have you ever had occasion when you see somebody you're surprised and you go, you! Or it's more like, what are you doing here? So the next appearance, like I said, he's just a hired hand, and that sort of thing continues. And the very first Avengers annual. So cool, so cool. This issue is reprinted in Giant Size Avengers number 6. So if you can't afford that, get the other. Although they take out a few pages in those 70s reprints. Inked by George Bell, a.k.a. George Roussos. And I don't know why sometimes he has that pseudonym, because he's used George Roussos before, but maybe at this point he wanted to do some DC work or needed it to bring home the bacon. And Roy Thomas is writing. I love that Living Laser redesign. I don't think it ever showed up again, but that's a Don Heck redesign. Mandarin again, troublemaker. He's getting Living Laser, he's getting Swordsman, he's getting Power Man, Enchantress, and Executioner. So there's an illusion, not illusion, like a hologram of Prince Neighbor turning them down. The request, he goes, my gullible guests do not realize I tricked them. The real neighbor is Atlantis. I merely destroyed that image that they may be properly impressed. So he says he needs them to get this. Wait a second. Now that the Sea Monarch is disposed of, you may observe the supreme creation, a mammoth diamond. I can't talk today. Which will give the power of life and death over all mankind. Holy cow, you're no piker. Maybe I'll consider joining. You speak as if you had a choice, Arthur Parks. I think that's Wonder Man. And say no more, but listen. While I tell you the use to which the synthetic gem will be put, blah, 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 masters of a planet. Very vague, but that's the way comics were at the time. So Roy Thomas, he was thrilled that he was allowed to get Iron Man and Thor back, the original Avengers, because Stan got rid of them because it was too much confusion or hard for him to write those other books because they had their own thing going on. You know, he was off in Asgard. Tony Stark had his own things to deal with. So anyway, here comes the Swordsman again. Love that panel. Love it. He's like, chill out, dude. And he is in, look at a paperclip there. I'll get right in there. From the Files of the Mandarin to Swordsman and Power Man. One of the most progressive of South American nations is also traditionally rich in diamonds. To ensure this area for me, you are to observe the following plan. It should say, destroy this afterwards, or crumple it into a ball and eat it. So that's what I would do to make sure, I didn't have any physical connection to Mandarin, any what do you call, evidence. So he's like, all's in ready in the Swordsman as the Mandarin commanded. Why do we need those creeps? They're mercenary soldiers, you costume cretin. And wait, the Mandarin himself is calling us. There it is, a metropolis carved out of the wilderness. And inspiration for many emerging nations. Big time. Big deal, it's another crummy city. You're a fool. If and when we destroy this city, Its obliteration will help us by demoralizing the world. Hear me, my compadres. My orders are to open fire. So here comes Giant Man, a.k.a. Goliath. I love that costume. You know what I also love is during this time before Captain Thor came back, he was the leader. I mean, he came on strong. He was the strong guy. So there's this giant sword of is it Damocles or however you say it? I don't know. About to come down on the city. Iron Man stops it. He's like, no, we'll have none of this. We move on to Hercules. And everybody's happy. Yeah, everybody's happy. How about this? Right here. That is a photo stat from Avengers number 25 where they fought Doctor Doom. Let's go back. So, the next appearance, again, he's a dupe. I mean, he's just he is a mercenary, but he's, I don't know, why would he, he didn't want to kill Wanda from the Avengers, but then all of a sudden he's joining up with a Mandarin who wants to kill people. So we end up in Captain America, and I firmly believe that this is just something Kirby threw together because there's not much point in them, but they are fun to look at. I love the costumes. Dan Adkins inking, very rare. Dan Adkins really did ink a lot of stuff of Kirby's, and I really love this because George, who's the guy who inked him before? Sid Shores, he really muddied up the artwork, and so, yeah, the faces especially. So, this back to pure Kirby, or pure interpretation. So, Swordsman, it is time to Zotalores. What is this? Be with you in a moment, Batroc. As soon as I show my multi-powered opponent who is truly the master of the blade, Kang. So, look at that. There's that Kirby cinematic style, or that widescreen style. You go there, and then there's Batroc. Really strong. That's how Kirby changed the language of comics forever. So, sounds like you got a job lined up for a sleeper, and it's about time. And Living Laser shows up. He's a dick. He tries to clobber him. Yeah, Living Laser. That face is so funny. There is a weapon hidden in this city for which a certain nation will pay $1 million. So, wow. Those buildings. Woo! And Jack would just kind of do. No reference, just out of his head. So again, a nice little scuffle there. And Swordsman's actually handling himself pretty well. Blast a bunch of bricks at Captain America. The ray that's coming out of the sword was attached by the Mandarin when Mandarin had him working for him. So this is the end of the Swordsman for this issue. So we go to Batroc, a Living Laser. So, like I said, there's nothing, if you didn't have this and you were wondering about the fate of the Swordsman, it doesn't really add anything, but it is fun. Okay, and now we go over to Marvel Masterworks. Avengers number 65, quite a ways away. Gene Colan on the art, inked by Sam Granger, who is a great inker. There's some things I didn't like him inking, but in general, he was pretty good. A quickie 2-page spread. In the wake of Neil Adams, there was a lot of layouts like this, and Gene Colan did that a lot. So, here's Egghead, Ant-Man's /Giant Man /Goliath's longtime enemy. He wants to hire swordsman again. Swordsman. And Hawkeye is now Goliath. He's now the new Goliath. Doesn't use bow and arrow. He's upset because the previous issue, his brother was killed by Egghead. And his name was Barney Barton. That sounds like Busby Berkeley or something like that. Or a cartoon character. Well, Goliath gets knocked out. Actually, the swordsman takes everybody out, pretty much. And you only have one Avenger. I thought you captured Hawkeye for yourself. As did I, until I learned he and Goliath are now the same. But enough small talk. I want my reward. And he's like, I must know if the man you've brought is indeed Henry Pym. And it's not. So, they get an argument. Or else the time is out of joint. Wait. Or else the time is out of joint and you are both out of luck. So you make veiled threats to me when I can carve you like a turkey. I love that. I think that's the middle finger. Yeah. I think he gave him the bird and he sent him flying across the room. So, anyway, there's Swordsman. And again, he was just a hired mercenary for this gig to bring Henry Pym to his doorstep. So I remember I had this issue years ago, and it was kind of tattered. I've mentioned this before, how a lot of artists, a lot of guys like kind of outgrew comics, and I was the beneficiary. I'd be like, oh, this is so cool, and I'd be like, take it, I don't read comics anymore. That was the thing. So we have, oh my gosh, Sal Buscema with Tom Palmer on the inks. Let's jump to the end, only because it's the first appearance of the rest of the group that Man-Ape belongs to, the Lethal Legion. And there we have some old pals, but in a redesign, beautiful redesign of the Grim Reaper by John Buscema. So, oh, what a cover. Oh, what a cover. I'm going to jump ahead because I got a lot to cover. I love that. I love that maniacal look in his face. You're going to lord it over the others if you want, Reaper, but do not play high and mighty with the swordsman. What? You dare raise your voice to me? So he's a bit of a ham. This panel here and other panels from this issue are in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And this was an example of foreshortening, which, you could, it just really makes things pop. That panel was also used. Instead of somebody just lying there, he's like, oof, oofda. So, there's a swordsman and Power Man. Besties. Now this happened a lot. It was like a low ceiling, not a low ceiling, but this huge pipe he bangs. They kept coming up with excuses for Giant Man and Goliath, either Henry Pym or Clint Barton, to be clumsy. They couldn't get around, couldn't get into a room and stuff. And I hated that. It's like he was so powerful. They always had to do dumb shit to, make him more vulnerable. So, look at the sword, out comes gas. Happy nappy. Time to take a nap, everybody. There's swordsman. Can't get the vision. And here's another panel that was used in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. So, again, he's just there. Now we jump to issue 100. This is a real ratty copy, but that's okay. With Betty Winsall Smith. I like to say that. I've always been. He pretty much started off as a fan favorite, even though he was like a Kirby clone. He developed so quickly, and particularly on Conan. And come on. What are you crappy shape there? So it should make it easier. It's inked by Barry Smith, who's what he went by back then. Joe Sinnott and Sid Shore. So that's a good group there. Now, what's interesting is like the curly inking effects that Barry Smith was doing for the first handful of issues. Real nice dramatic stuff. I mean, he obviously was looking at Steranko's Nick Fury #1, where they had silent panels. And Roy was kind of like, hey, I get what you're doing. They all get summoned. Even the Hulk, which was kind of interesting. People nowadays say, oh, the Hulk's an Avenger. He was not. He was an Avenger for issue 1 and 2 and 100. And then years later, he was an Avenger again. I think it was, decades later. I mean, especially when the movies came out. It's like, now he's a superhero. He's not a monster. He's tortured. So, nice 2-page spread there. So, I don't know what. One thing that's weird, though, is that shading. It's like this curly hair. Very odd. But it's a fun spread. There's Hawkeye in that god-awful suit that I don't know anybody who likes it. That has to do with Mount Olympus and all that stuff. I find it boring. I don't know why. It's just not my thing. To me, it's a pale imitation of how Marvel has treated Asgard and the characters. So even the Swordsman's there. He's like, someone's spying us in my own castle? It's the Swordsman. Here we go. Let someone with fewer sins on their conscience cast the first stone, Hawkeye. Maybe I shouldn't have intercepted your radio messages or followed you here, but I was an Avenger once, too. That was a long time ago. Logic demands we hear him out. Alright, so I stole one of your flyers and tracked you with this equipment. If you still need my help, then I... Wait a second, give me a second. I recall saying you had once an Avenger, always an Avenger. But you were in prison, last I heard. A technicality, my friend. Now it's growing late. Are we partners, or we are swordsmen? 'Tis your planet as much as ours. I thought that was kind of interesting there. It is kind of interesting. So neat to see like these little images that Barry Smith's still trying to figure out find his voice. So it's a fun issue, you know. That's it for him until a little more than a year later, Swordsman shows up again. Look at that glorious, glorious John Romita Sr. cover. And I actually got a really nice, there's only one kink there, and the top's a little wobbly, but it's really good shape. I bought it years and years ago, and somehow did not damage it, because I'm a hardcore reader. Bob Brown is the artist. Now, he gets a lot of shit for his Avengers run, but I would say most of it is because he was poorly inked. And if you look at his Daredevil stuff, it's phenomenal. And also, I think, while this is good stuff, it's not easy for people to draw team books. And that's been found out that the Buscema brothers and when George Perez came on the scene, he excelled at doing team dynamics, having like an entire team in one panel, and they all have different stances. So that was his strong suit. And John Byrne as well. Here comes Mantis. I love that. It's like bucket. She turns him into a fine powder. And here he is. The Swordsman. This is Steve Englehart, by the way. It's switched from Roy Thomas to Steve Englehart at this point. And Mantis is Steve Englehart's creation. And I think Don Heck designed her. I could be wrong. Or Englehart. Englehart was an artist as well. You gave me the cold shoulder in our battle against Ares. But when I heard that Hawkeye quit, Mantis and I decided it was time to return to the fold. You need to want to rejoin the Avengers? Keep dreaming. You're the worst security risk I ever met. And what happens is, it's a great story where the swordsman's eyes are aglow from within. As he turns to face his accuser, all you've said is true, but the life of crime wears exceedingly thin. But a life of crime wears exceedingly thin, exceedingly fast. Okay, that sounds right. Today I'm persona non grata across the world. And he was drunk. He's in Vietnam. He meets Mantis, and she convinced me I should take another stab, so to speak, with the guy with the sword, at living the right life for once. I know it sounds melodramatic, but I've gone straight and I want a second chance. You're right, Swordsman. It sounds ridiculously melodramatic, and I don't buy it. No sale. Give him a minute. I'm the only other Avenger left from that time. And in my opinion, there's too much prejudice involved already. And she says that because it becomes public that Wanda and the Vision, an android, are lovers, and the general public hates it. It's like, and they even say something rude like, would you marry a toaster? I seem to remember that line. So they join, and she goes, "Bah, thank you." So they go into the gymnasium. Libby goes, "Anything you say, I'll prove myself as often as you want. Let me warn you, swordsman, that Vision defeated both Cap and Iron Man here last week. So here you go." Now this panel here, just to me, it screams John Romita redraw. That's great. That's the kind of stuff he did in Daredevil. Swordsman wins. Mantis is in touch with something magic. I can't remember what it is, but she's not the main character. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not germane to the situation. I'm talking about the swordsman here. Okay. That's annoying. Okay. And swordsmen, they fight this some kind of god, and we will follow you. We shall fittingly celebrate your triumph. I salute you in the manner swordsmen have traditionally paid homage to their liege. Study the intricate blade work, so it hypnotizes them. Kind of silly, but why not? We owe ye twain our deepest gratitude. Ye have ye played a dangerous game with great daring. This could have been a diabolically clever smokescreen to blind us from a worse trickery later. I wish I knew. Okay, we jump over to Avengers Epic Collection. Isn't it amazing how Avengers Epic Collections have taken off? There's like double this amount at this point, nowadays. Excuse me, I gotta get me a drink of something. Okay, I'm back. Okay, Avengers 115. The Avengers land, and this guy says, "Go home, Avengers." Swordsman, you know that your deportation from Great Britain is not likely to be revoked. You and your companion Mantis will not be allowed to set foot on British soil. But I'm an Avenger now. Mantis convinced me to reform and start a law-abiding life. I've never understood that Avengers were, by definition, holy. Maybe not, but our word has always been something. And Cap's still kind of like... In other words, Avengers will take responsibility for their actions. Satisfactory? Not to me, T'Challa. I still can't bring myself to completely believe this transformation. I wish I knew Swordy when. I'm going to speak to my superiors, blah, blah, blah. However, I ask you to make your visit a short one. The Avengers entry can only be a courtesy that can be revoked. So you go to the castle. Let me check out the castle. And clearly another John Romita drawn panel, 100% that full panel, both cap. So a couple issues later, the Avengers-defenders war starts up. Both Loki, who was temporarily blinded, and Dormammu, they join forces, and basically they divide the Avengers and the Defenders. The Avengers are told that the Defenders, who are outcasts, and some of them have been villains, that they ain't up to no good. They want the evil eye. And so there's this big misunderstanding that goes on for a couple issues. What's kind of cool, though, is Steve Englehart was writing both books, so he swore to Roy Thomas that he could do a bi-weekly story. You know, first Avengers, then Defenders, then back. So Swordsman says, I'll go with Mantis to Bolivia. I owe South America a debt. And it goes back to South Avengers Special, where we saw Iron Man stop the sword of Damocles, or I don't know how you say it. I can always look it up, but I don't feel like I'm busy. So, well, hang on. This castle was probably built by a Nazi. Funny how things that were so important in the past look ridiculous today. Like my life, for instance. Until last year, I was all caught up in being a supervillain, telling myself I was a swashbuckling rogue. But now that I've turned the corner to become an Avenger, that era seems like such a sham. And I earned that from lost years. All I learned was hate and disgust. Never enough money to be comfortable, and never the respect of anyone who mattered. Until I met Mantis. In truth, I was hardly more than a hired hand. That's a great line by Englehart, because, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oops. He's trying to land, and the Valkyrie, who is a very new member of the Avengers, about 6 months into it, and before, Valkyrie was a one-time character in Avengers number 83, where she pit the women against the men in a story, but it was of the Avengers, and turned out it was actually a phony character created by the Enchantress. Well, the Enchantress changed Barbara Norris into Valkyrie, and it's a long story. So he goes to the castle. I love this storytelling here. Come up there. So what? She says. And this first panel is badass. I love it. So this lady, despite that hefty sword you're sporting, you're not leaving alive with the evil eye. Threats from a man with a pretty mustache? I love that line. For your information, Avenger, I haven't found the eye yet. So it's great that he put the two characters that have swords, and they slide on down. It's such a tribute to like Douglas Fairbanks or one of the old action characters from the black and white movies. Really, really cool. She swings, but she was holding on to the tapestry, and he cut it. Now here's an example. And like I said, Stan even screwed this up sometimes. You slit the tapestry, we're falling. It's pretty obvious. But, when you've read a billion comics like me, you kind of shrug it off. So Swordsman really, he does some great action against Valkyrie, she's got super strength and he doesn't. So he's using his agility and his background of being a swordsman. So, but he gets shot in the back. Cheap shot. Funny to be a gentleman rogue and die at the hands of scum like him. No justice anymore. Let me see to your wound. It's serious, but I doubt you'll die. I'll make you comfortable, then get a good doctor. No, if you go, you'll take the eye. Avengers trust me to keep it. So he gets taken away. Take it away. What you hear to play? The lights go down. Down. Whoa. Let me go back to show you the actual cover of this issue. They fight the Zodiac. And Swordsman passes out. He's like, it's hot. His wound is infected, the one he got in Bolivia. Except for a doctor, before he came, Cap arrived to gather the Avengers so he could confront the Defenders. Couldn't tell, didn't want to be sidelined while proving myself to you. Swordsman, there's no need for this. No man can call thine honesty into question anymore. So, why is it so hot? And later, Swordsman talks about his past again, and it's great because it kind of adds even more depth to him. I'd rather thought you'd ask me eventually, Shellhead, but the simple truth is I know little more than you do. You see, I'd been working in the South Vietnamese black market, running anything men or women would buy for the man who the cops called Monsieur Cruel, playing the word cruel. And then he met Mantis. He got shot, and she nursed him back to health. And he goes, the whole time I was so wrapped up in myself, my miserable life, that I never asked her about her life. So he says, as she lays down, in a moment, Iron Man, this is quite a woman, Swordsman. Even in pain, her control of body and mind approach perfection. Why, yes, Vision, I know. I'm aware that you do. Goodbye. What did he mean by that? Could he... Is he a horny... Is he a horny android or what? So... She's been like this for hours. Mantis put herself in a trance to regenerate her strength. Now she writhes in her bed like a lost soul. And I, the vaunted swordsman, can only sit here and pray, hoping that beside being by her side... And he's thinking back on what he said. And he's still not well. He's in his wheelchair. Always struck me as weird that... Always struck me as weird that Cornelius Van Lunt looked like just a guy out of shape, like your... I don't know, the guy you would see at the DMV, or, you would see just an average guy, the manager of a store. And he's secretly Taurus, who's super strong and super big. But Van Lunt was used before in an issue of Avengers, back when Roy and John Buscema did it. So, Mantis is taking on everybody. Swordsman's gone. Prepare yourself, you blasted toad. The swordsman has arrived. Don't bother to rise, you unscrupulous pig. I'll come to you. My former employee. So he sends bad guys after him. 2 against 1. Only odds. Those odds can only make the best blade artist in the world laugh. He gets knocked around. Goes, you mentioned my niece, American. We must talk further about that. And this is pretty intense, especially for 1974, I think it was. He's been tortured. And from trembling lips comes a terrible confession. I broke. Came to take him, and he took me. Made me tell about the priests of Pama, how they raised Mantis. He's gone with them. He wants vengeance. So I thought that was it's really dark. I mean, it's not graphic, but it's pretty much all you have to say. Oh, Lordy Lou. John Buscema, inked by Dave Cockrum. Ooh-wee. I wish this could have lasted, but Dave Cockrum was going to start doing the new X-Men and kicking major ass. Well, okay. This is really eye-opening. Swordsman, you have to let me take you to a hospital. You've been tortured. What difference does it make? What difference does anything make? I failed my lady just like I failed everything in life. I want to be a star, a swashbuckler. and I was a posturing fool. As a villain, I was always someone's flunky. As an Avenger, I've been wounded, captured, now all this again. And this time Mantis saw me, tied to a chair like a child. She loves heroism, Wanda. She wants someone to look up to. He's cracking, falling apart. Swordsman, please. Oh, Wanda, Wanda, I love her so. Pretty fascinating insight. Okay, we jump ahead to, this is a crossover with Captain Marvel, having to do with early appearance of Thanos. So, in the middle of battle, which is commonplace, Mantis, Swordsman, Wanda, and I can investigate while you continue to fly, Cap. You're on Vision. Swordsman, Snap 2, you've been in your own world since... You've been in your own world ever since you returned from the hospital, but I need you now. You do, huh? You need a lot of things. Like both your woman and mine, android. You tell me you admire Mantis' mind, but we know what that means, don't we? I won't even dignify that with a reply. What is he saying, Vision? Have you praised this one to him also? Enough, there's no time for divider concentration. I love that. He's partially tangible to where he could turn off a lock. I'd love to see that sort of thing happen more often, but really great artwork here. I love that. I love that. Holding me is not my foe's concern. Holding themselves together is. I love that because you get touches of, hey, Swordsman's getting out of his funk. Okay, jump ahead. Whoop. Did I miss anything? Not really. So Swordsman's working in the danger room. He's being watched by Mantis, and she looks over and sees the Vision. And Wanda's kind of pissed off because Mantis is coming and kind of distracting Vision from her affections. How about it? How's that for a great, great face? Wow. That is really great. You really could see that she's like pissed off to the core. And so we fight Claw and Solar. A really cool issue. Okay, here we go. Some more drama. There's a chance we'll die in 8 minutes, and I don't want to face... Shit. I don't want to face that without knowing how you feel about her. I'm amazed by your outburst. Wanda, emotion is such a rare thing for me. The love, the rarest of all. I have hardly experienced enough type women. But maybe you'd like to. Maybe there's something human males do, and you do wish you were human. Obviously, you're in no mood to talk. Okay. Mantis, I've got to know. You've got to tell me. Is it me you love or the Vision? You demand an answer, Swordsman? This one cannot be certain of who she is. Saigon Street orphan or cunningly trained priestess. And yet, something unknown. And you demand her feelings? I know I'm not reading exactly what's going on, but I'm just trying to go with brevity. So, a big crossover with Fantastic Four. And Swordsman's like, well, the recoil in his hands sparks jubilation in the Swordsman, a feeling he has lived up to the Avengers standards, a rare and heady feeling. But as it peaks, darkness bursts inside his brain. With a single despairing groan, he falls. And I think it might be from that wound again. But he's up again in this issue, right by my wrist. So now we get to issue 128. And again, Mantis is like very obsessed with the Vision. She thinks he's a perfect man, even though he's not a man. He's an android, but has human traits that a lot of humans don't have. So, well, I gotta get me a drink of water. Mantis, wait! I want to talk to you. What is it this time, Swordsman? So you can tell she's already hostile. This one grows quite weary of your insistent request to talk, but I never see you anymore. Even living in the same house, you keep avoiding me. Mantis, I love you. Then this one hopes you will prove a stronger man than you have been, Swordsman, for she no longer cares for you. So he's really, he's upset because he's spurned. Kill her, I'll kill her. He's just having this fit. What's happening? Contain thyself, man. Iron Man hath done thee no wrong. Who is it that thou wouldst murder, Avenger? Who hath ignited such distress? Mantis, the little. Don't say anything you'll be sorry for. Look, my boss, Tony Stark's, had a lot of experience with women, and things are never... Forget women. I don't care about women. I want Mantis. I love her, and I hate her. God help me, I love her. May this one enter? Vision, this one has no other toward... Excuse me. Vision, this one has no other toward... Wait a minute. To which to turn? Let me think. This one has no other toward which to turn. Okay. That's kind of... It's a good phrase. It's just hard to say. So she's like, hey, I got something for you. I got a big old crush. So we jump to... This was... Somebody had pointed out this mistake that the Vision was using, hand blast, but he doesn't have anything he shoots from his hand. It comes from his sword gem. Okay. Well, Kang shows up and he kidnaps a bunch of them. And he goes, I'm still here. I wasn't transported. What are your plans for me? You, Swordsman? You are a weakling and a blunderer. While my plans call for powerful male Avenger. Thus, I plan nothing for you but a scornful farewell. He didn't even care about me. He thumbed his nose at me like I was nothing. Blasted Kang, you'll see what I'll do. But where do I start? I don't know where he's taking the others. Think about your thing. And Agatha Harkness. I can't talk today, and I'm sorry. So, because my Mantis may despise me now, but Swordsman's going to surprise them all. So he's just like, I can't take much more of this. So his plane crashes. Good old Agatha Harkness shows up again. Big old dome-headed cat. You know what? Am I the only one who thought from, even though Ant-Man Quantumania was, to me, a total shit show, it was just a mess. The guy who played Kang, he got into some legal domestic problems and was removed, and it was supposed to be a big build-up of Kang. But, I mean, they've replaced characters before. I mean, like, they still count the Incredible Hulk as part of the Avengers, the MCU, and that was Ed Norton. And then you had Terrence, something like that. Terrence Howard was Rhodey in the first Iron Man movie, and then he was replaced by Don Cheadle. So I thought, why didn't they just replace Kang? It'd been established before that they could do that, but they won't return my calls, Disney. So he's going in. Lord, I'm alive. And this beam hits a mummy case. Its effect in the tomb is terrifying, and the swordsman scrambles jerkily to his feet. His senses shattered. He stumbles blindly from the vault. Kang's voice and light. The swordman, he's coming off as really pathetic, and that's why, because the panels where he is victorious or he's real he's able to hold his own with the other Avengers. Makes it that much more like you're rooting for him. It's like he's a loser, but he's trying not to be. So, Ramatut. So, giant-sized Avengers. You know what's silly? When I was really getting into comics for the first time, my dad took me to National Record Mart, which is in Monroeville at the Miracle Mile, which is a ton of stores. So, he said I could get whatever comics I wanted, and I guess maybe I was raised right because I didn't grab every comic I wanted. I grabbed like a dozen of them when they were a quarter, and I skipped this like a knucklehead because it was double the cost. But it's like my dad was giving me like a blank check essentially, but I didn't want to take advantage of it, so I skipped this, and later on regretted it, but it was still fun when I got it years later. Here's something a little cool you might dig. You might dig, man. Here's the original cover. It had Doctor Doom, and so in place they moved Kang up, which was smart because Doom doesn't really appear, except for one panel, and there was always this theory that he was also Kang and also Ramatut, which I think still holds today. I'm not sure. Time travel and stuff. And all Dave Cockrum art. Oh, Lordy Lou. Oh, it's so good. Hawkeye is the main man. So here comes the swordsman. He goes, Hawkeye, I might have known you'd lend us a hand in our hour of need. Welcome, Avenger. The others are still in Kang's hands, but I have found us an ally, Ramatut. And what's interesting is he says, I probably should, Hawkeye goes, I probably should go along with Swordsman. But he sounds really out of it, like in a dream world. He's not a bosom buddy, but I don't want him to kick him off the deep end. Okay, we're going. Well, it looks like you're doing good, Sword. We haven't always seen eye to eye, but but we've made a pretty good team back when you taught me archery, and will again. But that was when we were carnival hands. Today we are Avengers. Yeah, two of them, the weakest one. So there's a bit of a shift in Swordsman's personality. He's feeling emboldened because he has a lot to prove. But they show up. How do you propose we fight this thing? I haven't got the faintest idea. Just keep fighting and don't let it kill you. Good plan. The Pharaoh will be coming soon. I definitely should have asked more questions before I let Rama take us here. So, I love that panel right there. It sort of has a little bit of a European flavor to it with the rendering. Actually, also Joe Maneely, who worked for Marvel. We did it. We beat Kang. Expletives deleted. It's like, we got the vision. You made a believer out of me. Avengers assemble. I like he thinks to himself. Avengers assemble. He's all charged up. So they show up, and both Mantis and Scarlet Witch are supposedly, one of the two of them is supposed to be the Celestial Madonna, which is a great storyline, but I don't have time for that right now. I don't have time for that. Bring harm to this one's man at your peril, Rash One. What? Since when is a vision your man, lady? Neither he or I heard anything about it. He's mine. Oh, then must he suffer slavishly then, while you play your game of neglect and abuse? Is that what you expect of a man? Listen here, we've been going through this a rough time, discovering myself. The vision understands. In this one's land, a woman is taught to discover her man. And who are you, Marco Polo? That's a great face. If you had been so intent on exploration, your first man wouldn't be in the shape he's in. The swordsman was weak. He's not enough for me. Silence! So, I thought it's very interesting and very advanced kind of writing for at the time. Let's have a replay for the West Coast. Man, I guess no one likes returns. That was a stupid thing to do. The vision can't be inside this one. Let me try. Blast. Thrown for a loss again. Despite my breast beating, I can't ever do anything right. All I've done so far is find those who can. Really interesting. Oh man, I would love to have that page. So they all join together. So Ramatut and Kang are in battle. Brilliant stuff. This is the kind of stuff in the 70s that you just didn't see later on. Like back then, you had artists like Frank Bruner, Jim Starlin, so many artists. Rich Buckler, even they did this really wild design, and this is as wild as it gets because Scarlet Centurion. This is the first time it's been hinted that he is also Kang / Ramatut / Doctor Doom, and just going through the history of both characters, and that's really, really amazing. And Swordsman's kind of tripping out at all this stuff that's going on. So Kang is about to kill Ramatut. She's got the upper hand. And hold on a second. If Kang cannot have Madonna, no one shall. You are mistaken. You cannot kill this one. She is as amazed as any of the talk of Madonnas, but if she were to die today, Ramatut would not have done what he has. It would have been futile. Heed him. Put away the weapon. You place your faith in a false prophet, Mantis. And at the last second, get back, darling. And Kang ends up frying the swordsman. Lethal lightning coruscates through the swordsman's blade and up and through him. And well, darling, you cannot die. You must fight back, overcome. Afraid my body's not as recuperative as yours is, Mantis. This is it. No, my love, this one must right the wrongs that she has done to you. Proud. And she used you so badly. She sees that now. We are only what we are, darling. I try to be worthy of the Avengers. But like Kang, I was doomed from the beginning. I'm a failure. Just like one of those people who doesn't count. Every Avenger counts, Swordsman. Everyone. About this panel here does not look like Cockrum inked it, nor does this close-up with the... It looks to me like Neil Adams, because he'd do that once in a while. He'd show up at the Marvel bullpen or at DC, and he would be like, let me ink some of this. So I think just to enhance the drama, get somebody who draws the most three-dimensional human figures of his time, and that just looks, it's just great. So, he had a pathetic life, and it wasn't entirely his fault. So, they start off with the funeral of the swordsman. Goodbye, sword. We were two of a kind. I always thought, but somehow I always got the breaks you never did. I gave you grief in life, and somehow, you know how sorry I am for it now. And they carry him on his shoulders and bury him. So, now the only thing... I got to get back to this. Hang in there. Now, he's dead, but his body is resurrected. It's not Swordsman. It is this plant race called the Kotai, or I wish I could pronounce it. So it throws everybody off at first, but then they realize he's just using, the figure of the person that she was in love with. And at the end, both Vision and Scarlet Witch and the Kotai / Mantis get married, and then they disappear. Whoop. I love all these extras in the Marvel Masterworks. And they take off. So, now, years later, I'm talking a lot of years later, like more than, I'd say, 12 years later, I think, Mantis would return And later on, much later on, I'm talking the early 90s, Bob Harris was writing the Avengers. He brought back the Swordsman exactly as you remember him, but he was from another dimension, so he just kind of like hop, skip, and jump over to this other dimension. He became an Avenger, and I don't know what became of him after that, but pretty wild, pretty wild. And I need another drink. So that's the end of Swordsman's life, but there's a great story that really, I don't know how to put it. It redeems him as a character over the years. Ron Friends doing his classic Kirby-esque type figure work. So, this is a story written by Lou Mogan, who, he's done a lot of fanzine stuff, he's written some Marvel stuff, and he'd been around for a while. So, but this story's great. Hawkeye is because I'm going to learn some Avengers history that none of us knew before. The most mysterious Avenger of all, the Swordsman. And Don Heck doing the pencils, inked by Don Heck, and then Jose Marzan, who I'm so sickly jealous that he got to ink this. he does a great job too. So, gets his tape. Now, sir, in your own words, who are you, and how did you become the Swordsman? My own words, sir, come most reluctantly, for I've never told this story before. And he was in Southeast Asia, and his father was a very wealthy man, and he kind of had control over this area of Sincon, and he was ruling with an iron fist. And the son, who is Swordsman, he's kind of, he grew up around this, keep it my camera, he grew up around this wealth and just lived a good life, but he felt kind of, as his father became even more cruel, he distanced himself. There's the Crimson Cavalier, who was created by Roy Thomas and Frank Robbins, who was a World War I hero, who is related to this guy, Swordsman's father. So he treats the locals like dirt, and he says, "You'll have to celebrate my birthday without me, Father. I'm sure you understand all this excitement has spoiled my appetite." So he starts meeting with a lot of the people in Sincon, and they want to overthrow him, his father. And the Swordsman decides he will, in that costume. Wow. The more I look at it, I keep thinking it's a Don Heck design, but it's never been mentioned, so I could be wrong. It just has a very different style from what I would expect from a Kirby design. So he helps take out these power plants. He's trying to, basically tear down this regime. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So, have you ever known the taste of war, my friend? Have you ever been triumphant and you know your cause was right? Well, that was my feeling, at least for a time. So, another great face there. Why do you hesitate, Swordsman? Why do you now display that grim stare towards your long-time ally? The time for talk is past, Wong Chu. If you don't come through with this deal, I promise you that your father shall be reunited. Wong Chu is also the same character as in the first Iron Man origin. He finds out his father's dead, and he says, "Good God, you are reunited, but you never asked me how." So Swordsman goes to battle against them. He realized he was played as a tool. So there's going to be another regime that's just as bad. Man, I love that stuff. So this is this then. So this is it then? The stupid Frenchman and the wise communist alone? You know that I gave up to help Wong Chu. You know I gave up everything. Sorry, everybody. Okay, let's zoom. There. I thought I was liberating your people. I was a blasted crusader. I was just a tool of another tyranny. I had a cause. Blast you, blast your soul. I had a cause. And he leaves, but they part and let him through. The rest you know, I became a mercenary, a thief, and even an Avenger. And I was nearly destroyed them for the Mandarin. And at the end, guys, maybe we could use this tape to record a Lakers game. I love that story so much because there really was not much about the swordsman that we knew before except for that he trained Hawkeye, and I just loved that Lou Mogan just wrote a really great storyline. It actually made me want to see more of Swordsman, but he was already, long since dead, and it was Bob Harris who brought back another version of Swordsman, but I never warmed up to him because he wasn't the guy who had the same experiences that the actual Swordsman from our universe has. So anyway, I hope you like this, and please forgive me for being such a mushmouth and not saying anything right and blah blah blah. And I didn't even mean this to go on so long, but the Swordsman has a rich history, and he had died. My first Avengers issue was it was the funeral of the Swordsman, and it just had a very very big impact on me as how great a comic can be. So anyway, like I said, despite my mumbling and such, I hope you enjoyed this, and tell me how you liked it. Tell me what you think of the Swordsman. Do you even know what the Swordsman was? Because he was dead long before many people were alive. 50 years actually, 51. So anyway, tell me what you think of the Swordsman. Tell me what you think of some of the books that he was in, and tell me how. Tell me about Mantis. What you thought. She was pretty manipulative, but she cleaned up her act in time to become the Celestial Madonna. Let's see. Well, I was going to put the omnibus on top of this, but I don't want to squish stuff too much. So from Avengers number 20 or 19 all the way to Giant Size Avengers 2. So, all right, well, tell me what you think, everybody. Tell me, and I apologize again for just reading poorly, but with something of this length of an episode, I can't quite start over again, or my voice would really get shot. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this, and please let me know. Please double check if you are still subscribed and hit the bell for notifications, because subscriptions have been dropping off for a lot of YouTube channels, many of them with much bigger audience than mine. And it's just a YouTube stupid thing. And I hear people, in fact, somebody mentioned recently on this channel in the comment section that they didn't get a notification for whatever story I was doing. So I heard the way to do it, to fix it, is to unsubscribe, then resubscribe, and then hit the bell for notifications. So let's get to smash that button if we haven't. And please spread the word. Let me know what you think, and please tell others of this show. And because I cover a lot of stuff, I'm very Marvel heavy in my stuff because they were my favorite growing up. So everybody, I keep saying goodbye about 10 times. I think I'll finish it now. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.